The exciting things we've got coming up is our cooking segment in our Kitchen World Kitchen. We're making a special treat today, aren't we, Victoria?
Sure are. It is yours and my favorite. Gretchen, Chef Gretchen from NCCC here to make apple pie just in time for the season.
Apple season is upon us, so what better way than to make apple pie? It's America's favorite pie.
And the best way is that you make it for us.
Well, then I'm going to teach you how to make it, and you're going to make me one. So, all right.
Let's list some of the ingredients that folks are going to need for it.
Real easy, real basic. You got your all-purpose flour, a little bit of salt. You can always adjust that. Okay. If you want a sweeter crust, you can put some sugar in, vinegar, water, and of course your fat, being Crisco, butter, or lard, depending on what direction you want to go in.
You put vinegar in the crust?
You do. You can add vinegar to your crust. It sort of helps with the gluten development. It doesn't let it get as strong. You don't want to develop your gluten. Unlike breads, where you want to develop your gluten and have a really, nice, chewy, crisp bread, you don't want a chewy, crisp
pie. You want it flaky.
So, yes, you don't want to work your pie crust too much.
Oh, look at Mike. He's trying to look at the recipe himself. He loves apple pie probably more than us. I know. Surprise.
Wait a minute.
Mike is everywhere. He's the weather guy. Okay. All right, and apples. I always wonder,
yes.
What are the best apples to make?
It just depends. You want to keep it probably to one type of apple, because if you mix apples and one's tartar or harder or sweeter or sour,
the cooking thing is different.
You want to be able to kind of control that. So these are Cortlands that we're working with today. These are Cortland, local Cortland apples, of course. Local.
One of the biggest apple producers in the world, New York State.
That's right, and we got them here.
Cortland, would you say are the best? I usually use Mac or...
Macs are really popular. Empires. Like they're called 20 ounces, or like you can use, they're called like Golden Delicious, that kind of thing.
A Delicious would be okay in a pie?
Kind of. It's okay. And I would not use maybe the Red Delicious, but the Golden Delicious. People tend to like those ones.
And I'm peeking over there at your apples that are already sliced. Yes. You slice them thin. Is that just a preference?
No, I have this... It's you can get them at like Bed Bath & Beyond or Linda's and things. No, I promise, it's totally legit. It's kind of like when you do those potatoes at fairs. They go off real quick. They spiral. Similar. You put the apple on,
and it
cranks it, and it peels it, cores it, and it does everything.
Okay, we're gonna show that later.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So get the ingredients, and when we come back, we're gonna learn what I think is the toughest part: how to make a crust.
Yes.
All right. Yes. Terrific. Okay. Back to you, Allie.
Favorite in the kitchen right now.
That's right. Thanks, Allie. Apple pie. This reminds me, my home ec class, apple pie was the first thing that we made.
Was it?
Tried to make, I should say.
Oh, stop.
Got the rolling pin?
Yes.
Flour, everything?
Show us how to make it. Flour. I'm cutting my fat in. This is called a pastry blender. You can also do the fork or two-knife method, whatever you guys have on hand is fine.
And this is what makes it flaky?
Yes. You want to sort of make it into... I want to say coarse crumbs, if that makes sense. Some of the terms that they use at school.
Pea-sized.
Pea-sized, walnut size, they'll say, stuff like that. So I have my vinegar, which I said slows the gluten development, which is good. And then I have water, and they usually will say like 4 to 5 tablespoons or 2 to 3 tablespoons. It's really just to feel, you just want to start by adding it and then mixing it around.
And you don't use your hands?
I will. I'll get right in there, don't worry. And as you kind of get like a moistened section, just kind of pull it away. And then you see it's kind of drier over here, so I'm going to add a little bit of water here.
Okay.
And this just kind of...
This is the most daunting task, I think, for future pie makers, is that you can ruin a crust.
You can. You can definitely add too much water. Yeah, and then it's tough, and nobody wants to eat it, and it's not flaky and delicious.
And for those of you, I'm just going to be a realist right now. I buy my crust. It saves time, and you're guaranteed 100% that it turns out well.
You are. This is technically, but you could definitely make this up ahead of time, put it into like little pre-sized, pre-shaped balls, and then put them in the freezer or fridge and pull it out and make it as needed. You could make a big batch and then freeze and use them as you need.
Or you could go to the grocery store and you could get, and I would recommend, though, if you're going to have to, if you don't want to follow Chef Gretchen's, Mrs. Smith's, it's one of the only ones that doesn't use lard.
Yes, lard is, for
Look at the ingredients.
Are going to have an issue with that, so you definitely want to be aware of what you're using. And the butter puts a lot of flavor into your pie crust, but it also is harder to work with because your hands are hot and it melts it.
And you mixed butter with shortening.
I did a little bit of Crisco and a little bit of butter, just because I find it easier to work with the Crisco, because my hands are hot and it's not going to melt the Crisco. It has a higher melting point.
Do you do half and half?
Like half and half, or whatever you have on hand. Just, you can use margarine, you can use butter, or lard, but just some sort of fat. So now I kind of have it together in what I like to call a shaggy mass, which is a term that a chef used, and I thought, that is the greatest description I've ever heard.
Mass.
A shaggy mass.
I don't understand it.
Because it looks like a shaggy mass.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Right? I was like, when I saw it too, I was
Dr.
like,
Gretchen?
oh my God. So once you kind of get it together enough, is now I'm just going to kind of keep working it together. And like I said, you don't want to overwork your dough.
Because it makes it tough.
It makes it tough, which you don't want. And so you just kind of want to...
Oh, you're so gentle with it.
You have to be gentle. You have to
It's not
make
like bread.
No, not like bread.
Okay.
Not like bread.
And when you're rolling it out, we were talking about this. This was your grandmother's. I have an older one without the handles. It's
Yes.
just the wooden part.
Yes, those are harder, a little bit more challenging to work with for a newbie.
For a body.
So, these ones are definitely easier to work with.
All right, we're going to roll it out when we come back.
Yes,
We're going to let you
we'll roll it
work
out,
at your
and
magic.
We have our pie plate ready to go, and we're going to make a 2-crust. This is enough for a 2-crust apple pie, so top and bottom.
Excellent. All right, when we come back, we're going to roll it out and put it together. Back to you, Allie.
Thank you very much. Have you ever heard them? I really, really do think we are going to Victoria. I'm not sure, but I'm hoping that when the camera changes, that's where we'll be, in the kitchen.
Exactly. That's how anxious Allie is to try your apple pie. Me too. We just, okay, at this
We've
point,
done this months ago.
Chef Gretchen from NCCC, you have done the dough,
We made the dough. We split it in half, so I have top and bottom crust. It's easier to put them into little rounds because you want a round finished product, so it's easier to start with a round shape to begin with.
And it's not like a dough. You can see that it's not packed.
No, it's
And that's not what you should do.
It's very just kind of soft
Flaky.
and delicate.
And it dries.
And
Okay.
you can kind of see still some of the chunks of fat in it. That's good. You want all that. So what you want to do is just kind of lightly sprinkle underneath your dough and keep it moving. Keep your rolling pin with a little bit of flour on it. And just constantly keep it in a circle shape.
Okay.
And you want to roll it out, you know, depending on the size of your pie pan
Okay.
to fit your pie pan.
While you're doing that, I'm going to start doing
You're going to
the apples.
season our apples.
Season the apples.
Season our apples with some cinnamon and sugar.
How many apples do you think this took?
That's probably like 5 or 6 apples of medium size.
And look at this. Look at the size of them. Mine are all different shapes. You know, I've got cows and pigs that I make with my little knife, but this is perfect.
I would love to tell you that's okay.
Okay.
However, if it's going to be a big shape and a small shape, the small shape's going to bake a lot faster and kind of get mushy applesaucey, and then the bigger shape is
I
going to
never even thought of that. I just thought I was being interesting. Okay, so you have about, what, a cup, 3/4
Yeah,
of
I
a
mean,
cup?
you can probably start with half, or, you know, or however. It's to taste. If you're not a real
Oh.
sweet person, don't put a lot of sugar on. If you like it really
I'm
sweet,
sweet, but maybe I shouldn't be as sweet.
put extra sugar on and get your cinnamon in there.
I like to add tons of sugar, or cinnamon,
Tons
excuse
of
me.
cinnamon, okay. So now I have it rolled out, and a good way to judge if you're going to fit your thing is just kind of hold it above it. And if you have about, you know, like a 1-inch diameter all the way around, it leaves you enough for a crust to put in there. And you also kind of have to tuck it down.
Does it bake
So-
differently with a ceramic pan as opposed to a metal pan?
No, I've never found any difference. The only one is I've used pie pans with holes in the bottom that allow the air to circulate more, and it helps your bottom crust really bake all the way through. That's the only thing I've ever found. But what I like to do, there's 2 ways you can get it into from here to here. You can either fold it
That's bold.
and then lay it in.
Okay, let's do it that way.
There's that, or this is also easy. You can roll it onto your rolling pin.
Wow.
And
This is where mine goes wrong. It would inevitably rip.
It's not. And then just adjust it to fit. And you want to make sure you really push it down into the bottom. And then you're going to just sort of trim your edges a little.
All right, I hear my producer. And Allison Russo, who's pregnant, is so anxious to eat your apple pie.
Yes.
She's eating for 2, though. We need to give her at least half.
Good.
Let's give her the whole pie.
Give her the whole pie. She should take the whole pie.
Okay, you know what? In my apple pie, my mother's apple pie, I should say, my original Korean mother apple pie, she always puts brown sugar in, not white sugar even.
You can use both. You can use brown sugar, you can use white sugar.
Different flavors?
Yep, absolutely. Brown sugar contains molasses and a couple other caramel flavoring, caramel coloring along the way. So it does produce sort of 2 different. So if you have
Flavors.
that done,
Do you think that's enough? A little more sugar?
whatever you want.
I can't tell by look. I'm just going
to
by...
try them. You always got to try everything.
Oh,
yes, try away. Make sure you try your product before you bake it off, because then you don't want to give it to anyone else.
I think it's perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, wait. Let me just add a little bit more cinnamon. I've got about 45 seconds left before they give me the hook.
They're going to give you the hook.
Yeah. Ooh,
All right,
flying
well, you
apples.
throw that in there. I'm going to roll out our top crust.
I always put too many apples in too, or I have to shake the pan to make it, you know, position itself better, the apples.
You can just kind of...
That's perfect, of course. Gretchen's apple pie is perfect.
Yeah, because they do
That's why
bake
you're the
down-
professional.
That's right. They do bake down a little, so, you know, that's a nice little kind of heaping mound, so that's perfect.
Okay, now I've got 15 seconds, and I'm sure that's not going to be enough for you to do that. We're going to cover it up.
Yes, we're
and
going to
then
top it.
We're going
and
to
then-
try it out in our next segment as you teach me about a second helping.
Yes, we're going to use our pie scraps to make little cookies with the melted butter and cinnamon sugar.
It's a
I know
perfect thing
everyone
to do
loves.
today on kind of a wet, dreary
Yeah,
day.
and everyone's
Cool.
mom always did that.
Absolutely.
Well, what do we do with the pie scraps?
All right, when we come back, we're going to put this together, try it out, and make our second helpings. For now, though, we're going to bump out. All right, while I was eating my pie, Chef Gretchen finished up this pie.
Yes, I put the top on, 2 crusts, and I pinched and sealed all my edges, and then you just want to go along and flute.
Oh, look at that.
Flute your edge.
My mother always said add a little butter.
Yes, or you could add butter to it on top, or another thing is, once it's been in there for about 40 minutes and you poke it with a toothpick, make sure it's nice and soft, brush it with an egg whites, and
Oh,
it gives
it
it
makes
that kind
shiny?
of shine. Makes it
Terrific.
kind of shine. Or you can put sugar on it, too.
All right.
So
With
when you're
the
done,
scraps,
the scraps, everyone loves their scraps. You can either bake them as is and then put jelly on them, which I know my dad used to love to do, or you can just brush them with some melted butter. And then sprinkle with a little cinnamon sugar.
oh, that's... It
They
wasn't in
turn
the shape
into-
of a bear, so I didn't know that was cinnamon. You remember that as a kid?
Yeah, I used to love those. My mom used to always have them. They were Domino. They were Domino brand. Of course.
I don't know if they still have it.
Of course they do.
All right, so then you just bake that in the oven for how long?
About, you know, like probably 5-10 minutes, if that, at 400 degrees. All pies go between 385 and 400 degrees, real high temperatures on pies.
Do you start high and then go low?
Nope.
The whole
Just-
thing,
yep,
the same
just-
consistent?
It's only pumpkin pies. And the reason that is because that's a custard pie. So it's slightly different than a fruit filling pie. That's, you start it high and then go down low.
Wow,
That's
okay.
why.
Remember that?
Yes, because Thanksgiving's coming up, so I know everyone's going to take our pies and turn them into delicious pumpkin pies in a couple months.
I know in a future segment you're going to do something with us with pumpkin.
Yes,
Something very
yes,
creative.
of course.
Okay, so you stick that in there, you cook it up. What would you serve it with?
Just as is, and you want to eat them nice and hot out of the oven because, you know, everyone's waiting for the apple pie, and while you're waiting for the apple pie, you might as well eat these. Just kind of subside yourself until the pie comes out and you can dig in.
We want to thank you so much for coming, Chef
You're
Gretchen, today
welcome.
from NCCC with our apple pie of the day. Thanks so much. Back to you, Allie.
Thank you. I can't wait to come over and try it. Apple pie is one of my favorites. We're going to take a look now at what's happening around town tonight. If you're feeling up for the challenge, you can join TIFT for a healthy outdoor walk with a botanical emphasis. Their drop-in program, the Wellness Walk, runs all year long, and it's $2 donation that's suggested per person. You can find information on this on our website, wingingit.tv. You can add your own information there as well.
All right. I was getting my piece, and I just happened to look in the freezer thinking maybe somebody left something. And sure
Yeah.
enough, Gretchen actually brought us some vanilla ice cream.
Oh, pie a la mode.
And or
Just
cheese
got
even you could put
10
on
times
top,
better.
right?
Yeah.
Apple pie without cheese is like a hug without a squeeze.
I've never heard that before. I'm going to use it now.
It's like ignore your teeth and they'll go away. Coming up tomorrow on Winging It Buffalo Style, the Irishman Pub back in-house, and we are going to be making up something great.
Yep, and we're going to take a look at Curtain Up, which is going to be very dramatic and wonderful. Say goodbye to Gretchen. It was lovely having her here today.
Have a wonderful day.